Welcome to Underground Stories. I'm your guide through the shadowed corners of history, where truth dances with legend and the past whispers its secrets to those who listen carefully. Tonight, we embark on a journey through 7 extraordinary tales, stories of mysterious figures whose very existence challenges what we think we know about history. These are not mere facts and dates, but human puzzles that have captivated minds for centuries. Each tale raises the same haunting question: where does truth end and legend begin? Our first mystery takes us to the cobblestone streets of 19th-century Nuremberg, where one spring morning in 1828, the ordinary world was shaken by the extraordinary. The Silent Stranger of Nuremberg. Picture, if you will, the moment when a teenage boy stumbled into Nuremberg's town square, clutching 2 letters with trembling hands. This was Kaspar Hauser, a name that would become synonymous with mystery itself. He could barely speak, knowing only enough words to express his desire to become a cavalryman like his father. The letters he carried told conflicting stories. One begged a cavalry captain to either hang the boy or take him in. The other claimed he had been raised in isolation, knowing nothing of the world beyond his dark cell. Who was this silent stranger? As attempts were made to educate him, rumors swirled. Some whispered he was a lost prince of Baden, victim of a palace conspiracy. Others suspected elaborate deception. When Kaspar died from a mysterious stab wound in 1833, he took his secrets with him. Even modern DNA testing in 2024 could not definitively solve the puzzle that began on those Nuremberg cobblestones nearly 2 centuries ago. But Kaspar's story teaches us something profound about the nature of mystery itself. Sometimes the questions we ask reveal more about us than the answers ever could. The Midnight Rider's Shadow. Our journey now carries us across the Atlantic to the American colonies in the spring of 1777, where another legend was born, or perhaps created, in the darkness of a Revolutionary War night. They say 16-year-old Sybil Ludington mounted her horse and rode 40 miles through hostile territory to rally the militia after British forces raided Danbury. A dangerous journey through the night, undertaken by a mere girl who became known as the female Paul Revere. It's a stirring tale of American courage and determination. But here's where our story becomes truly intriguing. This heroic midnight ride first appeared in historical accounts, not in 1777, not in 1800, not even in 1850, but in 1907, more than a century after it supposedly occurred. No contemporary evidence supports Sybil's legendary journey. Even the Daughters of the American Revolution now question whether this beloved story ever happened at all. Was Sybil Ludington a forgotten heroine whose story deserved telling, or is she something else entirely? A symbol born from our collective need for heroes, created when the real ones had been forgotten by time. Her tale reminds us that sometimes the stories we tell about the past say more about our present than about history itself. The Nameless Hero of Belgrade. From the American frontier, we travel to the ancient battlements of Belgrade in 1456, where Hungarian defenders faced the advancing Ottoman Empire. In the heat of battle, as Turkish forces pressed their attack against the fortress walls, a moment of desperate heroism allegedly saved the day. A defender, whose name history had forgotten, saw an Ottoman soldier climbing the fortress walls, preparing to plant the Turkish flag as a symbol of conquest. Without hesitation, the Hungarian warrior rushed forward and pushed the enemy soldier from the ramparts, sacrificing himself in the process but saving the fortress from falling. It was only centuries later that Hungarian folklore gave this nameless hero a name, Titusz Dugovics. But was there ever truly such a person? Historical evidence remains frustratingly thin. Perhaps Titusz represents something more powerful than any individual, the collective memory of all those unnamed defenders who fought and died at Belgrade, compressed into a single heroic figure we could remember and honor. His story teaches us that sometimes our greatest heroes exist not in the flesh, but in our need to believe that ordinary people can rise to extraordinary moments. The Telegraph Temptress. The year 1870 finds us in the chaos of the Franco-Prussian War, where a young woman named Juliette Dodu allegedly pulled off one of the most audacious espionage operations of the conflict. For 17 days, this 22-year-old supposedly tapped into Prussian telegraph lines, intercepting enemy communications and passing vital intelligence to French forces. The information she gathered reportedly saved 40,000 French soldiers from death or capture. When the Prussians discovered her activities, they arrested her for espionage. She faced execution, saved only by the timely arrival of an armistice. Juliette became a national heroine. Her story splashed across French newspapers, hungry for inspiring tales during a time of national humiliation. But as the years passed and historians examined the records more carefully, doubts emerged. The technology, the logistics, the timeline, none of it quite added up. Was Juliette Dodu a master spy who outwitted the Prussian army, or was she something else? A symbol created by a desperate press and a defeated nation's need for heroes. Her story shows us how the line between journalism and mythology can blur when people desperately need something to believe in. The Prince Who Never Was. In the early 17th century, the courts of Europe were visited by a most unusual figure, a man who claimed to be Ethiopian royalty, known as Zaga Christ. He spun tales of his royal heritage, wrote what may be the first African autobiography published in Europe, and gained the favor of powerful figures, including Cardinal Richelieu himself. Zaga's claims were compelling enough to earn him a royal pension and a place in the halls of power. He presented himself as legitimate Ethiopian nobility, complete with detailed knowledge of court politics and religious practices. His autobiography painted a vivid picture of royal intrigue and political complexity in Ethiopia. But modern historians view Zaga Christ as an elaborate impostor, a man who understood that in an age before easy communication, identity could be as fluid as the stories one chose to tell. His success reveals something fascinating about early modern Europe, how little was truly known about distant lands, and how a clever storyteller could exploit that ignorance. Was Zaga Christ a con artist or something more complex, a man caught between worlds, crafting an identity that allowed him to survive in a foreign land? His story reminds us that identity itself can be a kind of performance, especially when crossing the boundaries of culture, race, and continent. The genius hidden in time. Sometimes our greatest mysteries aren't about people we can't identify, but about knowledge we nearly lost forever. Such is the case of Archimedes, the brilliant mathematician and inventor of ancient Syracuse, whose true genius remained hidden for centuries after his death in 212 BC. While his mechanical inventions became legendary, the screw pump that bears his name, the war machines that defended Syracuse, the principle of displacement that sent him running naked from his bath, shouting "Eureka!" His profound mathematical discoveries remained largely unknown. It wasn't until the Byzantine scholars of Constantinople around 530 AD that his mathematical works were systematically compiled. Even then, it was primarily through later commentaries that the true scope of his intellectual achievements became clear. How much knowledge was lost during those dark centuries? What discoveries might Archimedes have made that vanished completely, leaving no trace for us to find? His story is a sobering reminder that human progress is fragile, that genius can be silenced by neglect as surely as by sword, and that preserving knowledge requires constant vigilance across generations. Archimedes teaches us that sometimes our greatest mysteries aren't about what we can't understand, but about what we've forgotten we once knew. The face behind the mask. Our final tale brings us to the shadowed corridors of power in 17th century France, where one of history's most enduring mysteries lived and died behind an iron mask. For over 30 years, an anonymous prisoner was held in French prisons, from Pignerol to the infamous Bastille. His face was hidden behind an iron mask whenever anyone might see him. He was known only as Eustache Dogger and was buried under the name Marchioli. Such was the secrecy surrounding his identity that his very jailers were forbidden from speaking to him about anything beyond his immediate needs. The mysterious prisoner was held on the direct orders of Louis XIV himself, the Sun King, who claimed that all light in France flowed from him alone. What secret was so dangerous that it required not just imprisonment, but complete anonymity? Many historians suspect he was Ercole Antonio Mattioli, an Italian diplomat who had crossed Louis XIV in sensitive negotiations. But certainty remains elusive. Was he a disgraced noble, a dangerous spy, or perhaps someone whose very identity posed a threat to the stability of the French crown? The man in the iron mask took his secrets to the grave, leaving us with perhaps the most perfect mystery of all, a puzzle that can never be fully solved because the key evidence died with the prisoner himself. The thread that connects. As our journey through these 7 mysteries draws to a close, a pattern emerges. Each story asks the same fundamental questions. What is truth? What is legend? And perhaps most importantly, does it matter? Kaspar Hauser teaches us that some mysteries are more powerful than their solutions. Sybil Ludington shows us how legends can be born from our need for heroes. Titusz Dugovics reminds us that collective memory can create individuals who never existed. Juliette Dodu reveals how desperate times can blur the line between journalism and mythology. Zaga Christ demonstrates that identity itself can be a performance. Archimedes warns us that even genius can be forgotten. And the man in the iron mask proves that some secrets are designed to remain forever hidden. These are not just historical curiosities. They are mirrors reflecting our eternal human need to make sense of the past, to find meaning in mystery, and to understand that sometimes the questions we ask are more revealing than the answers we find. In each of these tales, we see the beautiful complexity of human nature, our capacity for heroism and deception, our need for meaning and mystery, our ability to create legends and lose truth, all woven together in the grand tapestry we call history. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time's shadows. These 7 mysteries remind us that history is not just a collection of facts, but a living, breathing story where truth and legend dance together in an eternal waltz. If you've enjoyed exploring these forgotten corners of the human experience, subscribe to Underground Stories, where we continue to uncover the remarkable tales that connect us all to our shared, mysterious past. Remember, in the space between what we know and what we wonder lies all the magic of human curiosity. Until we meet again in the shadows of history, keep questioning, keep wondering, and keep listening for the whispers of the past.